Hey everyone, and welcome to Boston Autoblog. You guys have demanded more content on the Cornflower Blue GTI, so today we're going to do a full review of my car. The GTI has been on my list of cars to review for quite a while, and since I own one, I can now go a lot more in depth than any other reviews I've done before. I'll be taking this car out on a test drive, and I'll give you guys a little bit more of my own personal opinion, having owned this car for 3 weeks. And so, without wasting any further time, let's get right into this review. Throughout the years, there have been a handful of vehicles that defined a generation, or completely changed the automotive industry, and the Volkswagen GTI is without a doubt one of those cars. In 1984, the Mark II Golf brought a new look, a name change, and a new performance model for the United States. Up until 1983, the Golf as we know it today was originally called the Rabbit in North America. To commemorate 35 years of the GTI, while also producing the final model year for the Mark VII generation, Volkswagen manufactured 3,000 special edition GTIs for the US market, giving them a slightly different look, unique paint colors, and honoring the Rabbit name. Whenever someone brings up the term hot hatch, immediately the Volkswagen GTI comes to mind. This small compact car not only has given younger drivers an affordable and cool alternative, but it's fun and practical as well. Still to this day, manufacturers get it wrong when trying to sell to millennials by providing slow and boxy disposable vehicles, while a GTI on the other hand combines everything a driver wants, from performance to exterior appearance. One argument enthusiasts can make is that Volkswagen has for the most part stayed on the conservative side with color options they offer outside of special and limited edition trims, with Tornado Red being the most outspoken. But this is where the Rabbit Edition sets itself apart from other GTIs on the road. Cornflower Blue and Urano Gray make up 2/3 of the 3,000 Rabbit Edition GTIs on the market, with Pure White and Deep Black Pearl sharing the final 1,000 models. Gloss black side mirror caps, rear spoiler, and 18-inch Pretoria alloy wheels, also painted gloss black, already make this limited edition stand out. LED dynamic headlights come standard, which look amazing at night. And being a typical GTI owner, I also have to run the fog lights as well. Up front you have an aggressive front bumper, along with Volkswagen's signature red line going through the headlights, which is unique to the Mark 7.5 GTI. What would have been the performance package on older Mark 7 models is included for the Rabbit, giving owners Golf R brakes with more than enough stopping power, especially on a spirited drive. Coming around back, you'll get a sportier rear diffuser, along with dual chrome exhaust tips. LED taillights also come standard. Besides the obvious difference in road presence, the Rabbit Edition receives more advanced safety technology than the base model GTI. Blind spot monitor with rear cross traffic alert, front assist with pedestrian monitor, and autonomous emergency braking are all included, essentially offering a driver assistance package. Despite not having some luxury comfort features that can be found in the SE and Autobahn trims, the Rabbit Edition is a really nice package for someone on a budget. For performance, all GTIs are equipped with a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that puts out 228 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. Consumers will have the choice of going with a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission taken from a Golf R, or they can option for a 6-speed manual. For the drivetrain, front-wheel drive is standard across the board, but if you prefer all-wheel drive, a Golf R would be a better choice. You'll also get a limited slip differential for the Rabbit Edition, which gives drivers the opportunity to have more fun in the corners on a winding back road. For fuel economy, you can expect to receive 25 miles per gallon in the city and 32 miles per gallon on the highway. As for myself, I'm getting a combined average of 26 miles per gallon, and that could be due to my driving style. Now, once you step inside, you're greeted by a very driver-friendly interior, one that I think is unrivaled in this class. Now, when I started looking at other cars in this price range, and even other hatchbacks, they just don't provide that sense of being connected to the car. I think even when it comes to the Mazda 3, they're focusing more on being more luxurious rather than sporty. Now, I don't know if they're going to come out with a Mazda 3 Speed, but when I look at other competitors right now, I think this is probably the best one if you just want to be focused on the driving experience and driving dynamics. This interior has all that. You have a leather-wrapped flat-bottom steering wheel, which is great to hold on to. You have paddle shifters since this is a DSG. The seats, to me, are perfect. The cloth plaid seats are very comfortable. I don't get hassled or jostled around on a tight back road or on a spirited drive. And now dealerships do say that they are power adjustable, which they are not. I mean, if you want to be technical, you can say they are because you can recline them back and forth. But if you want that perfect driving seating position, you have to manually adjust them. In front of me are analog gauges with a small digital information display in the center, which provide information such as oil temperature, your average MPGs, a digital speedometer, and your average speed limit. To me, this is all I need. I know that the GLI's Autobahn edition has a digital information display that Volkswagen and Audi have been doing a lot with their cars lately. To me, I don't feel like I need that. And if you guys have watched my other reviews, you know I'm very drawn in by technical stuff. I'm drawn in by the 12-inch digital information display. You know I'm drawn in by bigger touchscreens. And you also know that I love my moonroofs. But in all honesty, I don't feel like I need any of that. I don't feel like I need to overpay for any of that. And overall, I think this is just a great interior for someone who just wants to enjoy the drive. Now, you also get a 6-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility, which to me is enough. I don't need the 8-inch touchscreen that you can get on the Autobahn trim. I think that's really a waste of money to upgrade to that, especially where if you don't care about leather seats, a moonroof, and extra safety technology, I just wouldn't recommend overpaying, especially at the price of like $35,000. Just not something I would do. But to me, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility provide me the navigation system through Google and Waze, so I don't need anything else. The infotainment system itself is very responsive. The quick access buttons are very responsive. And overall, I think it's a great infotainment system for someone who just doesn't really care about, all the technical stuff that brands have been putting into cars. It's just simplified, and that's what I like. Now, also, you can check your MPGs and your vehicle status. Now, this is where I am kind of iffy on what Volkswagen is doing here, because you have a thing called Think Blue, which shows your MPGs. It gives you a blue score, which is how well you're driving the car, if you're maximizing your miles per gallon. In all honesty, I think this is useless on a GTI. I'm not focused on my MPGs, and also the Think Blue trainer shows me the exact same information if I press the car button again, and shows me my MPGs when I first started the car, or last time I refueled it, or since I've owned the car. To me, I just think that the Think Blue is useless. I prefer gauges, but from what I hear, the gauges on the older GTIs were fake. That when owners would say that, like, if you showed the boost, it wouldn't be accurate. So I can kind of see why Volkswagen got away from that, but to me, the Think Blue trainer, it's not necessary. Below the infotainment system, you do have your dials and your buttons for your climate control and your heated seats. And below that, you have a hidden storage compartment for your iPhone, and you have a USB input as well. To me, I find this storage compartment more useful than the center storage compartment, just because I can fit my iPhone and my wallet in there and still have a little bit more room. Now, next to the gear shift lever, you have your push button start, which you do not get on the base model GTI. You also get a drive mode selector with Eco, Normal, Sport, and Custom. And one thing I have noticed is that depending on what drive mode you're in, the engine idles at a lower RPM in Eco and higher RPM in Sport. So that probably explains why Eco is probably better for MPGs. Now, next down the line for the buttons is your auto start stop button, which I really don't know why Volkswagen even put this in here, because it's actually rather annoying. So say you're on the road, you're driving on the highway and you're in sport mode, and then you get off the highway and you want to go into Eco just to maximize some MPGs. Well, the car automatically puts you in the auto start stop feature. So say you you get to a red light and you stop and the car shuts off, and you completely forget that was not engaged. Now, one thing you have to do when you start the car is press this button off, and I just wish that Volkswagen made it so that once the button is off on the drive, it doesn't re-engage. I just think that's a very annoying feature to me. It's something I don't like about the car, but I can live with it. You also get a traction control on and off button, which is useful if you want to launch control your GTI. I've done it already, which is really fun, but one thing I will say is that in first gear, this car gets absolutely no traction. You also get 2 cup holders, and for your center storage compartment, you don't really get a heck of a lot of room. I don't even use it for anything at all, just because there is no USB input or a 12-volt outlet in there. So to me, maybe if I put, small change if I want to get a car wash or something like that, but other than that, it's really useless. Now, one minor thing I don't like about the GTI, and I can completely live with just because when I look at older GTIs, I just wanted to change it immediately, is the gloss black trim. Now, I think it looks better, but it gets dirty rather quickly. I have to clean it all the time, and what I noticed is within about 10 to 15 minutes, the dirt and the dust attracted this immediately. So that's one thing I don't like, but in the older GTIs, I wouldn't even call it fake carbon fiber weave, but it was just a really weird trim that I really didn't like, and I know a lot of other GTI owners didn't like either, where you would just wrap it immediately in carbon fiber. And with this, I don't feel like I need to do that right now. I can live with the gloss black, but it is a pain and inconvenience to constantly clean this to make it look good. Now for passengers in the back, they will be a bit crimped depending on how tall they are. I can definitely imagine someone being over 6 feet feeling a little bit more claustrophobic. Now, this seat, the driver's seat, is adjusted to my liking, so I have plenty of room just because I'm not a tall adult. However, my passenger front seat is adjusted to my friend's height, who is just over 6 feet tall. And I can definitely say, even for someone around 5'5", they'd be cramped in the back seat. So this car really isn't meant to have passengers all the time. It's also one of the reasons why the GTI is never really seen as being an Uber car. You would think it would be just because it's a hatchback, but because it's a compact car, don't expect a lot of legroom. For younger adults or younger teenagers, they will be comfortable in the back, depending on how tall their friends are in the front or the driver is. But I will say, though, that if you're going to fit like full-size adults, they're going to be cramped for sure. If you're constantly active or have equipment with you all the time, a hatchback is a great vehicle to purchase. Now, with the liftgate, I have plenty of room in the back for all my stuff, including my camera gear, my cleaning equipment for my car, and there's also some side pockets, which is great, so I can have my detailer and some other stuff. And then with the rear seats folded down, I have 52.7 cubic feet of rear cargo room to use. So it's great, especially where if my friends ever need parts to be moved around for their cars when they're modifying them, like my friend who owned the Nissan GTR, I can definitely fit all that stuff in there, including my own stuff like my camera gear. So this car is actually really practical, and the hatchback is a great car for someone who's always on the go or needs that extra space for whether it's tools, equipment, or whatever you're going to be carrying. Alright, so for the test portion of this video, we're going to do point of view because my suction cup mount is picking up every single bump in the road. This one I've had for about 3 years. It's time to get a new one, so I'm probably going to get a tri-suction cup mount so that this thing doesn't pick up every single bump. Probably due to the fact this is a sports tuned suspension, so that's probably the reason why. So actually I think the point of view is going to provide a better experience for you guys to show you guys what it's like to drive this car. So let's get started. Now, one thing I really liked about the GTI, and it's one of the reasons why it drew me in, is that for a daily driver, it has that luxury sense to it as well. It's comfortable to drive. It's also quiet. It has that German engineering. It's what you expect out of a German car, which is to be quiet on the road, not pick up a lot of road noise. All right, let's put this into sport mode. And it's that right there, when you hear car enthusiasts say, it's better to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow, the GTI it pretty much embodies that statement. However, because it's so torquey, I don't know if it really falls into the slow car category, because with 228 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque, it doesn't take much to get up to speed. just for demonstration, I'm gonna put this car in eco mode just to show you guys what it's like. Also gotta turn off the auto start stop feature. Now the car is a lot quieter, and there's a few things I've also noticed with this car as well, is that in eco mode, it idles at a lower RPM. So when you're at a stoplight, it drops below 1000 RPM, where in sport mode, it will be idling above that. And I think that's the reason why I think in eco mode, it's probably a little bit better on fuel economy. But this is what I'm talking about, that when you're driving in the city and, you know, going fast isn't really necessary, nor is it safe, you have a nice quiet cabin and interior that you can enjoy the drive. It takes the bumps pretty well, and it just has that German style to it that I like. You know, I was kind of out of the budget of getting a newer BMW and Mercedes-Benz, and the GTI was a perfect fit. It had the performance that I wanted, but it also had more of that higher quality interior that you're just not gonna find on other competitors. Now we're coming up to a highway here. I haven't tried this exit before in this car. I did this with the old Volvo that I had. I wanna see what the 0 to 60 acceleration time is like. It's effortless. It really is. It's also one of the reasons why I don't believe that you can drive this car hard and not get into trouble, because it's too torquey. It gets you to speed way too fast. And another thing too is that, and people don't really realize this, is that you don't really feel the speed in this car. Now you would think for a smaller car you'd feel, you know, 60, 70, you don't really feel it. And I will say that even cruising at 55, 60, it's just not enjoyable. I mean, I could get away with it in other cars. It's just not fun keeping this car at the speed limit, which is why I don't believe when I hear other, you know, journalists say that you can have a lot of fun without breaking the speed limit. I completely disagree, because you get rather bored, you know, being at the speed limit levels. It just gets way too boring. Now, overall, I have really begun to love this car. Now, my friends would be laughing right now because they know I was on the fence for over a year on getting a GTI. Everyone tried pushing me to getting a GTI, but I wasn't really sure. Mostly due to the fact that I truly didn't think that when I looked at older ones, 210 horsepower, even 228 horsepower, wasn't enough. I thought that was going to be a slow car, and boy was I wrong, and I'm glad that I opened my mind to purchasing a GTI. But to be honest, at $28,000, this was really my only option, mostly due to the fact that I didn't want to buy a used car. After owning the Volvo S40 and dealing with the problems immediately, I didn't want to buy a used car and have the same problems arise, or, you know, had the problems that the owner had sold the car for really be my problem. So I wanted to be the person that put on all the miles, that, you know, was the first owner. And so far, 1,000 miles in 3 weeks of ownership, it has been the most fun driving I've ever had in my 10 years of driving. And I am so glad that I purchased this car, and I would definitely recommend a GTI to any young car enthusiast who wants the practicality of a hatchback, but more of a performance from a sports car, whereas this car has a great balance for both. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys